Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Premium Interviews. My name is Barry from Premium Edition Games, and I'll be your host tonight. And today I am joined by Matt Bitner of Morningstar Game Studios. Matt, thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Now, for those of you that may not know who Matt is, he kind of made a little game, tiny little game. You might have heard of it. It's called A Robot Named Fight. As part of our Series 2 releases. And first off, just thank you again for taking the time to sit and talk with me, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to talk about it.
All right, so let's just start off. For those that don't know whom you are, just introduce yourself. Let them know a little bit about you, your background,
Sure. My name is Matt Bitner, and I run a little game studio called Morningstar Game Studio, which is basically just me by myself. And I made a game called A Robot Named Fight, and pretty much did the entire thing as a one-man team: the music, the sound, the art, the animation, the programming. All of it was made in Unity. And other than that, I've been doing game design and game development for about, I don't know, I guess you could say like professionally 5 or 6 years, maybe longer now. I don't even know. And then before that kind of is like doing modding and things like that. So.
Hey, that's awesome. Now, I mean, I've always wanted to make games. I've never been really good at it. But how did you get into making games? Or what made you just say, you know what, this is where I want to go?
When I was really young, like I always grew, like my dad adopted technology really early. So I grew up around like the Sega Master System and the TurboGrafx and some of these early systems. So I've always played video games, but it was when I made the jump over to PC and started playing like the original Doom, like 1993 Doom, that I started getting really into modding. And I never like really put out any levels or anything like that, but I'd play around with level editors a lot. And then like when Quake came out, I played around with like not World Anvil. I forget the name of the editor for the original Quake, but just kind of through modding, and then learned ActionScript 3, which was like for Flash games and stuff, and then eventually got a job at a place called HitSense working on mobile games before I went on my own. So it's just kind of always been an interest. Like I've always loved video games.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, you mentioned the other studio you worked on. What other games have you worked on besides A Robot Named Fight?
Back when I was at HitSense, I worked on the Draw Stickman Epic series. That's Draw Stickman Epic 1 and 2, which you kind of like drew a little stick person. They went on like almost like a point and click adventure. You could draw like different elements and it would affect the environment in different ways. And then a little like mobile lane combat game called Battle Pillars, I guess, was the other big like commercial product. Aside from that, like I made lots of little Flash games and things that maybe you can find on the internet if you Google searches, but never released them.
That's a shame. Who knows? Maybe a future Switch compilation.
Yeah,
Matt's Flash games.
Maybe not. Like I was learning, so they're not great.
You're saying there won't be a Series 3 release? All right, so obviously A Robot Named Fight is now complete. We have the last patch and everything is going full steam ahead for this physical. But what are you working on now? Like, can you share anything about where you're going?
I can't give away too much, but I am working on 2 new games. I'm not going to say the titles of either, but one is like a puzzle platformer that has just lots of, like pretty much any platforming gimmick you can imagine has been crammed into this game. And like just really exploring like a more linear narrative kind of plot than A Robot Named Fight, which is a roguelike. So that's one of the ones I'm working on. And then the other game I'm working on right now is with a friend of mine in Spain, actually. We're making a very AI heavy, like squad combat kind of platformer. It's really, I don't know how to categorize it quite yet, but it's got a lot of complex, like enemies will come and track you down through levels and can like climb fences and do all this other kind of things. So we're really trying to explore AI pretty heavily right now with that.
That sounds incredible. Now these games, are they targeting just PC or will they be a Switch as well? Or
Definitely PC and hopefully Switch and other platforms. So that's still a ways down the road. So we're not sure how that's gonna go. But yeah,
Honestly,
hopefully as many
I'm
platforms as we can.
I'm already thinking another, multi-application two-pack here with the next games from Matt. That's where my mind's going. But those they sound interesting. I can't wait to see more. Of course, that's just a little tease. So let's go back into Robot Named Fight. What was your inspiration for Robot Named Fight?
I guess like as far as the gameplay goes, it's pretty obvious. Super Metroid was a huge inspiration. I've played that game forever. Like when it first came out, I used to play it, and then I kind of revisited it in college where I learned to start speed running it. And then once you get into speed running, of course, you get into all like the ROM hacks and the various like community made like modifications for it, where you get different maps and things like that. And just loving that game so much and playing like every iteration of it led me to kind of want to adapt the roguelike format to that style of gameplay, that Metroidvania style of gameplay. And of course, Binding of Isaac was a huge like Metroidvania, or not Metroidvania, roguelike influence. Like that's probably my favorite roguelike. I like Enter the Gungeon and a few others, but just that continually like it's almost like an unfolding game like Candy Box or something like that, where every time you play through you unlock more and more and the game just keeps getting larger. So like gameplay wise that, and then like plot and art style wise, I've always been a big fan of like body horror, David Cronenberg, and like old horror movies, Wet Puppets, that kind of genre of horror. And I guess kind of like Terminator 2, Mega
Hmm.
Man, robot future sci-fi stuff definitely influenced the plot.
Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely the body horror and the the mouth meat and all that is certainly prevalent in this game. So you just talked about a bunch of different things regarding it, but what would you say is your personal favorite part, just the gameplay standpoint, point as well as a development perspective? Like,
I think it's the map generation. Like that's like it's real specific and technical, but just like the algorithm that designs the layout and having to try and like reverse engineer a Metroidvania was like the biggest challenge, and also the thing I spent the most time on, and probably like that's the innovative part of the game. Like everything else in the game is kind of you've seen before, you've experienced before, maybe not in this order or this arrangement, but the mapping algorithm that is able to construct like this unique Metroidvania every time. Like I can still play a Robot Named Fight and be like, oh, I never designed this specifically, but I'm getting to play it. Like it's fun.
that is certainly unique. There's 4 billion different combinations that the map can
Yeah.
generate, and all the
It's
different
honestly,
seeds.
I'm not the actual numbers, like we say over 4 billion or whatever, but it's some crazy high number. Like it's with 40 zeros or something because of all the different like variables that can change.
So you can play this game virtually forever and never see the same seed twice unless
Yeah.
you write down that code. There's a lot to this, and that is just fascinating. I've always liked the random generation and thought about how you have to worry about certain rooms working with other rooms, and you just did it brilliantly. So hats off to you there.
Thank you.
So from a development standpoint now, like for example, when we did like Super Blood Hockey, Lauren got to see a bunch of people seeing players get murdered, and it was great. What part are you looking forward to the most for people who are just discovering Robot Named Fight, for them sharing like, oh my god, I can't believe this happened, screenshot, and you go, yes, I love that you just experienced that. What part would you say is one of the top highlights?
There's a few like big kind of secrets in the game that I really enjoy. Like I love the first time anybody ever like defeats the Mega Beast and sees that big zoom out fight, and then when you play subsequent times, there's more that happens after that, and then there are a few very secret endings. So those things, like those big secrets, those big secret endings, are always fun to watch people discover for the first time. Especially like, I mean, I can go ahead and spoil it. The game's been out for a bit, but the glitch realm, which I won't say how to get to, but the first time people visit that, they usually get slaughtered pretty fast because they enter it unprepared, and that's kind of fun to watch. And then even more so when they learn like, oh, if I did this and this, and they start kind of gaming the system and almost cheating a little bit to like get the good run they want to go and face that. That's always entertaining.
That is I haven't experienced that yet, but now I'm kind of scared to. But
Yeah.
there's a lot to this game, and that's what, if you're out there and you're shooting for it, go for those secret endings. Make Matt happy by showing off that, hey, you know what, I found it and I did this. And it's something to really shoot for. So I gotta ask, totally non-biased here. How does it feel to be part of our second series going forward? And you were also teased in that very first direct, so people have probably been reaching out to us. When's the Robot Named Fight coming? I don't know if they've reached out to you. Hey, when is the Robot Named Fight coming physically? How's it feel?
I'm so excited to finally like have like it's only been digital up to this point, to finally have like an instruction manual and a case and a cartridge and everything. Like, I don't know, I grew up with games, so just having the physical artifact is gonna be just incredibly cool. I'm like, I don't know. I'm really excited to see the whole thing come together, especially the big deluxe package with like the steel book and everything. I can't wait to like have all those goodies and like put them on my shelf. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a trophy. You've done
Yeah.
it. You've entered the physical realm. Well, we're honestly very happy to have you be a part of that. And now, one of the reasons you weren't actually part of Series One is because you were still working on the game, and we wanted to preserve the game in its entirety. What made you want to add the co-op and the death match and all that stuff to Robot Named Fight?
When I released it, I developed it on my own. So there was a financial limitation. There was really like I had so much kind of capital up front to like sit in my house and work on this game every day for 8 hours, that when I did release it, it didn't have everything I wanted really. And the past like 2 or 3 years, it's seen several patches, including this latest one that's going to be on the cart, that includes shrines and balance tweaks and like just some extra game modes and improved AI on some of the enemies and all this other stuff. Like, I just wanted to see it completely fulfilled before it like made its way to physical. And that's not to say that somewhere down the line there won't be another Robot Named Fight patch, but this is it for a while. I'm working on the two new games. That's going to take most of my attention as a solo dev.
That's understandable. Hey, never know. Robot Named Fight 2 could come along and
Yeah.
put those ideas there. Obviously, you're doing your puzzle platformer and your other game, and you just did a roguelike Metroidvania. If you could design any entry in any video game series, it doesn't have to be one of these genres you're already working with. It could be something completely different. What would your dream gig be? Like, someone sees a Robot Named Fight, sees how awesome you are, picks up the phone and calls you and say, we want you to work on X.
Man, there's so many answers to that. Like the Metroid series, obviously, it's a series that hasn't had a lot of love lately, but hopefully we get this new entry soon. That would be a dream because I just love that genre, and specifically like that manifestation of Metroidvanias, the original like Super Metroid. Like working on a new 2D Metroid would be amazing. Working on a 3D Metroid would be equally amazing. But I'm also a big fan of like some old id Software shooters. In particular, I've been going back and playing. There's a mod for the original Quake, like the really kind of blocky, gritty looking like '96 Quake, called Arcane Dimensions, where they've really pushed the level design to the max. And to be able to work on some kind of sequel to that, not like Quake 2, but the original like OG Lovecraftian like Quake series would be really interesting.
That'd be awesome. Have you noticed any type of communication with fans now who are just discovering Robot Named Fight for the first time since our announcement? Because that's one thing we've noticed. Is a lot of games do fall under the radar. Unfortunately, there's so much in the digital storefront, and when they get that physical push, people start giving them a second look. Have you noticed anything like, oh yeah, now I'm interested in your game? How has that been, like the extra popularity?
It's been cool. Like we've had a Discord community that's really close knit for a very long time. Like they do speed running, they do weekly challenges and things like that. And since the announcement of the physical release, we have seen more people start coming into our Discord, more people like meeting people that have been fans of the game for a really long time and like sharing secrets. And like that whole thing is really cool to me because I remember growing up and like schoolyard rumors of like, oh, if you do X, Y, and Z in the game, you'll get to this such and such place, or the minus worlds in Mario or anything like that. So seeing people like talk about the game and like even share hints on how to break it. Like we've had fans that have made a seed generator where you can like reverse engineer a seed, like kind of design your own run. And that's nothing I put out. That's just something they were able to like kind of backwards engineering the code. So seeing new people come in and like discover those tools and discover like there's so much more, I don't know, like kind of meat once you participate in this community. It's been really cool.
That's awesome.
Really great.
Well, just to leave it off here, what encouraging words would you tell those that have just discovered Robot Name Fight? They're gonna jump in for the first time when the physical comes out. They're gonna be trying to earn their man meat challenge patch. What would you like to say to them?
Don't get discouraged if you die. Like especially if you're new to the like because you're gonna like it's just a part of the nature of the genre. But like if you've never played roguelikes before, I really encourage you to play like several runs and get in that habit of like learning not just like the game and the layout, but the patterns in the game, and like thinking of it more like you might think of a board game or a strategy game or something like that. Like that's the thing I love about the roguelike genre is that ability to like approach it fresh each time and like use what you've learned in previous runs to apply to this kind of new experience. It's very different than like playing a Contra or anything where you're kind of learning enemy patterns. It's learning like these larger patterns.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the roguelike is very different beast than other genres for sure. Matt, I do want to thank you, but first well, why don't you tell people where they can find you, you know?
Oh, sure. You can go to robotnamefight.com for a robot named Fight, and then there's morningstargamestudio.com that should be up by the time of this interview. Follow us on Twitter at robot named Fight. No A, just at symbol robot named Fight, and at morningstar_gs. And you'll be able to find us there.
Sounds
Oh, and
great.
Facebook.
Oh
You,
yeah, got a
type a robot named Fight in the search bar on Facebook. I think it's / a robot named Fight. I forget, but
Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time here and for joining me today. And thank you for everybody who watched. Now, for those of you that are interested in Robot Named Fight, June 15th, the open pre-orders start for the premium. We've got the retro and we've got the deluxe versions. All look amazing. Those pre-order windows close on July 15th. And remember, the retro and the deluxe are very limited. So if you really want those, go for them. Otherwise, make sure to pre-order to secure your copy because A Robot Named Fight is an amazing experience. And I've had a joy so far just playing, and I've continued to play, and I'm looking forward to playing more runs through more seeds. Matt, thank you so much for joining today.
yeah, thanks for having me, Barry.
Absolutely. Remember, premiumeditiongames.com. Come check out our stuff. And until next time, thanks for watching.